Hello, and welcome to the Draft California 2020 and 2021 Community Services Block Grant State Plan and Application Overview webinar. That's quite a mouthful, so throughout the remainder of this pre-recorded presentation, I'll simply refer to it as the Draft CSBG State Plan. My name is Justin Lytle, and I will be walking you through the key elements of the Draft CSBG State Plan. Throughout this overview, please feel free to write down questions or comments as they come up, as I will be sharing how, when, and where to direct them at the end of this webinar. Today's presentation will serve as a guide to the Draft CSBG State Plan and will include a general overview of the State Plan, as well as key changes and highlights. But first, here are a few basics. What is the CSBG State Plan? The State Plan is California's official application to the federal government for funding through the Community Services Block Grant. The California Department of Community Services and Development, or CSD, is the state's leading agency designated to receive and administer Community Services Block Grant funding. CSD is required to submit the state plan and application to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Administration for Children and Families, Office of Community Services, or OCS for short, every 2 years. In order to receive funding for the 2020 and 2021 fiscal years, the state plan and application must be submitted electronically by September 1st, 2019. The state plan serves as a roadmap for the state of California and its 60 public and nonprofit CSBG agencies to organize and deliver vital services to meet the needs of low-income Californians. These services are delivered through locally determined programs aimed at the achievement of economic security for all Californians. Once the determination has been made that CSD is in compliance with California Government Code Section 12780 and has completed the state plan according to the requirements set in the CSBG Act, OCS will issue federal funding to CSD for the administration and distribution of funds as outlined in the plan. The 2020-2021 CSBG State Plan is posted for public inspection on the Community Services and Development's public website. Please log on to www.csd.ca.gov and click the newsroom link in the navigation menu. Then scroll down to the Public Notices section and click the button that will take you directly to the Public Notices page. From there, a link to the draft CSBG State Plan is easily accessible. The CSBG State Plan is also conveniently located on the CSD Provider website for access by California's CSBG agencies. Now we're going to briefly look at the elements provided by CSBG agencies that inform the state plan development. This chart shows several CSBG agency products that CSD requests as part of the administration of the Community Services Block Grant. They include the Community Action Plan, or CAP for short, Organizational Standards Reports, Training and Technical Assistance Requests, 2018 annual report submissions that showcase each CSBG agency's supportive service outcomes, as well as survey responses, including the American Consumer Satisfaction Index, or ACSI survey. The component listed at the top of this chart is the Community Action Plan. As a condition of funding, each of the 60 public and nonprofit CSBG agencies are required to submit a comprehensive local needs assessment on a biennial basis as part of the CAP. Each CAP describes the immediate issues impacting each CSBG agency's community and detailed qualitative and quantitative data that inform the delivery of services provided. CAP responses significantly inform the contents of the state plan. CSD also considers CSBG Advisory Council recommendations and public comments on the draft state plan, as well as the combined public and legislative hearing that will be hosted jointly by the California State Senate and Assembly Human Services Committees on August 27, 2019. The ACSI survey gives CSBG eligible entities an opportunity to provide the state with feedback on critical activities, including state plan development and agency involvement in the development process, training and technical assistance, linkages, and communication. Based on the most recent ACSI survey, CSD seeks to increase target scores for the Consumer Satisfaction Index from 70 to 75 for the years covered in the State Plan 2020 and 2021. CSD has sought to encourage CSBG agency participation in the State Plan process to ensure the plan reflects CSBG agency input throughout the following engagement points. They include presentations at the quarterly CSBG Advisory Committee, or CAC meetings, the opportunity for public inspection and comment on the draft state plan, this pre-recorded webinar, and combined public and joint legislative hearing scheduled for August 27, 2019. The final draft of the state plan must be submitted on September 1, 2019. Now let's discuss what's in the 2020 and 2021 CSBG State Plan. You'll find that this state plan offers an updated look and feel. Several sections have been streamlined for clarity and formatted for ease of reading. The draft state plan features prominent use of the executive summary and highlights important elements which we'll walk through on the following slides. Then, there's the narrative portion of the state plan, which begins with an overview of the CSBG funding distribution, followed by the state coordination and responsibilities section, which addresses the strategic partnerships between CSBG agencies and the state of California. After this section, we have the CSBG programmatic assurances and narrative that conveys how CSBG agencies will meet federal programmatic requirements to address the needs of California's low-income communities. Program highlights follow to showcase a sample of the excellent work being conducted by CSBG agencies at the local level. Also included in the plan are infographics that show demographic information for participants served during the 2018 program year. The executive summary introduces a new look and feel to the state plan. In it, we find high-level introduction to CSD, including our mission statement, as well as information about the Community Services Block Grant and the 60 public and nonprofit agencies that receive funding from it. The CSBG Grant Award distribution formula for federal fiscal years 2020 and 2021 is also introduced here, as well as CSD's CSBG State Plan goals and objectives, which we'll discuss on the next slide. In the Executive Summary's introduction to the draft CSBG State Plan, the state renews its commitment to reduce poverty for all Californians by introducing its goals and objectives. In addition to the continuing efforts of the strategic goals laid out in the 2018 and 2019 State Plan, CSD has developed the following goals for 2020 and 2021 to align closely with the California Health and Human Services Agency's strategic priorities to make California a healthy and vibrant place to live, play, work, and learn. These goals and objectives include fostering a culture of collaboration and innovation across state and local entities by focusing on a client-centered, whole-person approach to help address California's cost crisis through several targeted initiatives, including continuum of care services for homeless individuals and families, disaster preparedness and recovery assistance, nutritious food distribution, California Earned Income Tax Credit, or CAL-EITC awareness, and free tax preparation services. Also, focusing on actionable data to improve outcomes that support the reduction in poverty for vulnerable populations. And lastly, establishing and maintaining new training and support programs to sustain excellence through a highly skilled workforce at the state and local level. With these goals, CSD aims to partner with state and local agencies to find opportunities to develop whole-person, client-centered systems and service strategies by taking an in-depth look at outcome data to share best practices and offer practical ways to enhance our collective ability to reduce poverty for all Californians. We look forward to sharing our progress in reaching these goals for 2020 and 2021 in the CSBG Annual Report. The executive summary also features outcome and supportive service results derived from the 2018 CSBG Annual Report that depict the activities, services, and outcomes conducted by California's CSBG agencies during the 2018 program year. This looks a bit different from outcome and service data released by the National Association for State Community Services Programs, or NASCASP, in previous years, as certain indicators have been collapsed and/or separated between outcomes and services. To touch on a few outcomes, in 2018, 255,166 low-income individuals secured or maintained stable housing through program services that offer housing payment, eviction prevention, utility payment, housing placement, and weatherization services. Additionally, CSBG agencies prepared and distributed more than 28 million prepared meals and food parcels to families and individuals in need through congregate meal sites, food banks, and distribution facilities. Also of note in the executive summary is a chart featuring the CSBG expenditures by service category for the 2018 program year. It is important to mention that this chart also reflects recent changes to the service categories as indicated in the 2018 CSBG Annual Report, expanding certain categories such as civic engagement and community involvement, while combining and collapsing others, like services supporting multiple domains and the combining of health and social behavior development, which now includes nutrition services. Next, we'll discuss CSBG funding, as described in the Distribution of Funding section of the state plan. There are currently 60 nonprofit, local government, migrant and seasonal farm worker, and Native American Indian tribal agencies, known as CSBG agencies, across California that are included in the funding allocation table beginning on page 8 of the draft state plan. CSD will pass through at least 90% of California's CSBG award to these agencies, an expected allocation total of more than $57 million as based on the CSBG grant allocation received for the 2019 federal fiscal year. Of the overall grant allocation, 5% of funds, or $3.2 million, will be directed toward discretionary funding, and 5% will be allocated to support administrative operations at CSD. The following slides highlight planned allocation for discretionary funding activities as mandated by federal law. Of the nearly $3.2 million allocated for discretionary funds, CSD sets aside 20% to support training and technical assistance for CSBG agencies. Training and technical assistance is used to meet administrative and programmatic requirements and to enhance operations, and includes annual support for California Community Action Partnership Association, or CalCAPA for short, to work in collaboration with CSD to increase agencies' capacity and to identify best practices in the CSBG agency network. CSD will also contract with the California Community Economic Development Association, or CECEDA, an organization that has expertise in community economic development. CECEDA provides training and technical assistance to CSBG agencies to achieve results through a wide range of economic and community development strategies. 52% of discretionary funding is also planned to support innovative programs and activities that aim to increase agency capacity or to fund targeted initiatives and priority programs as identified by the state. These funds may be distributed equally among CSBG agencies or through a competitive process at the discretion of CSD. The remaining 28% of discretionary funding will support limited purpose agencies, as well as SupplyBank.org, an organization that provides material goods to individuals and families in need using a food bank model. CSD sets aside a portion of discretionary funds for the development of administrative automation tools, and in the case of an emergency, all or a portion of disaster funding may be designated to CSBG agencies in affected counties. CSD requests that CSBG agencies assess reduction contingency plans as part of their CAP to ensure local planning efforts are considered for any significant reductions to CSBG funding. As with previous practice, CSD will reconstitute a funding formula task force per California Government Code 12785 should the grant experience significant reductions. In addition, CSD may elect to use discretionary funding to backfill reductions to lessen the impact to local service delivery up to 3.5%. As part of the 5% allocation for state use of administration funding, the draft state plan describes the delivery of CSBG-funded training and technical assistance to CSBG agencies. The state will conduct training and technical assistance to improve fiscal and programmatic accountability as described here. Categories include fiscal, governance and tripartite boards, organizational standards generally, and for CSBG agencies with unmet standards, reporting, results-oriented management and accountability, or ROMA Next Generation training, strategic planning, monitoring, and community economic development. And a new training topic has also been included in this state plan. New CSBG Executive Director and Employee Onboard Training will offer those new to our CSBG agencies the opportunity to put their best foot forward as they step into their new role. To meet Assurance 676B5 of the CSBG Act, CSD recognizes the importance of developing strategic partnerships between the state of California and the network of CSBG agencies at the local level. Included in this is the state's communication plan, which outlines various methods in which the state will keep the network of CSBG agencies, CalCAPA, and other state partners up to date and engaged. This section also describes the linkages and coordination efforts that the state plans to maintain with governmental and other social service organizations, with a focus on equity and anti-poverty programs. These linkages include the administration of the Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program, or LIHEAP, and the Weatherization Assistance Program, or WAP. These key energy efficiency and weatherization programs are highly successful at addressing the needs of low-income Californians through utility bill assistance, energy efficiency, and weatherization services. CSD actively participates in the State Interagency Team, or SIT, which provides leadership and guidance in facilitating programs that benefit children, youth, and families in California. Within the SIT, CSD also participates in several work groups, which include the Critical Incident Work Group, focused on preventing child fatalities and near fatalities that are the result of neglect and abuse by sharing strategies, information, and data that impacts the common population of children and families. CSD also participates in the California Home Visiting Program, which focuses on improving the quality, efficiency, and effectiveness of home visiting through interagency collaboration through improved service delivery and coordination. CSD also participates in the work group to eliminate disparities and disproportionality, which focuses on developing recommendations for addressing disparity and disproportionality as it impacts service delivery to economically or racially disadvantaged individuals and communities. CSD also participates in the Homelessness Matters work group, which focuses on promoting awareness about the plight of homeless students in California. CSD distributes information related to these work groups as applicable and will identify engagement points for agencies. CSD continues to participate in the California Health in All Policies Task Force, led by the California Department of Public Health, to focus on achieving health equity to improve the lives of Californians. And lastly, new to the CSBG state plan this year, CSD has joined the Government Alliance on Race and Equity, a national network of governments working to achieve racial equity and advancement opportunities for all. CSD was part of the inaugural call of 19 state departments to join in a year-long series of trainings with the goal of creating a racial equity action plan. This plan will be used by CSD to inform internal and external processes as a department. The state also coordinates local efforts to reduce poverty and will continue to lead the state interagency team Reducing Poverty Work Group. Comprised of state, federal, local government, and nonprofit agencies, this work group works to reduce poverty by increasing the number of federal and state earned income tax credits, a highly effective anti-poverty tool. The California Earned Income Tax Credit, or CAL-EITC, has made great strides to further assist families facing the state's cost crisis. The 2019-2020 State Budget Act more than doubles the investment of CAL-EITC to $1 billion. CSD has once again partnered with the Franchise Tax Board for the 2019 tax season to extend $10 million in grant funding to help increase the number of participating households from 2 to 3 million. CSD will administer $5 million in grant funds in targeted areas throughout the state to increase education and awareness for CAL-EITC, as well as $5 million to promote free tax preparation assistance. Lastly, CSD facilitates the CSBG Advisory Council, a select group of CSBG agencies that meet quarterly along with CalCAPA to make further recommendations regarding possible potential policy changes and to engage in peer-to-peer networking. A significant portion of the draft CSBG state plan is devoted to the federal CSBG programmatic assurances that mandate programs, activities, and services supported with funding through CSBG will benefit individuals and families who are low income. California has defined low income as those with incomes at or below 100% of the federal poverty line or up to 125% of federal poverty level for CalWORKS participants. CSD relies on CSBG agency responses submitted in the biennial CAP to respond to each of the federal assurances listed here and on the following slide to ensure that all agencies satisfy the requirements of the state plan. CSD reviews each CSBG agency's CAP and the Community Needs Assessment to provide narrative responses to each assurance. We'll cover just a few of the assurances here and recommend you review this section for much more detailed information. Also of note, for the federal submission of the state plan to OCS, CSBG agencies are considered eligible entities. First, we'll look at the assurance titled Use of Funds Supporting Local Activities. This assurance will be satisfied through activities submitted in CAP responses and may include Homeless Continuum of Care Coalition Services and Transitional Housing, Disaster Recovery Resource Center Services, Financial Literacy Programs, Health Education and Access, Free Tax Preparation Assistance, Mentoring, Parent Development, Child Care Services, and other activities. CSD's role is to evaluate the CAP responses and annual contract outcome projections to ensure program activities are targeted towards achieving this federal assurance. For the Needs of Youth assurance, CSD summarized how CSBG agencies plan to address diverse needs through various methods, including homeless youth assistance programs, youth civic engagement activities, mentoring programs, gang suppression and prevention programs, life skills training and employment-related initiatives, health education and teen pregnancy and substance abuse prevention initiatives, entrepreneurship programs for youth, and free book distribution programs. The next assurance we'll look at is eligible entity linkages, approach to filling service gaps. CSBG agencies collaborate with trusted local community organizations, service providers, and public and private organizations to ensure effective delivery of services to low-income Californians. Agencies establish contractual relationships and informal agreements with trusted subcontractors and community partners to enhance the services they provide. Community needs assessment data is used by CSBG agencies to identify opportunities to resolve gaps in services to enhance current programs. Cross-referrals to clients is common practice as agencies share information about respective services through participation in local area commissions. The next assurance we'll look at is coordination of eligible entity allocation, 90% funds, with public and private resources. To maximize delivery of services, agencies coordinate with a network of public and private sector partners, including workforce investment boards, homeless service provider coalitions, disaster recovery resource centers, social service departments, centralized one-stop service centers, CalWorks, CalFresh, transitional housing programs, healthcare providers, senior centers, community advisory boards, youth councils, and emergency service providers. By establishing these partnerships, agencies can more effectively address the diverse needs of low-income individuals and families in California by using direct referrals, joint case management, shared use of space to deliver services, and subcontractor agreements. To continue our review of CSBG programmatic assurances, we will review two more in a bit more detail. Next is eligible entity innovative community and neighborhood initiatives, including fatherhood and parental responsibility. The network of agencies use CSBG funding to support innovative community-based initiatives that encourage parental responsibility, including fatherhood strengthening classes, parent and joint child counseling, co-parenting communication skills training, programs to address health disparities, parental engagement groups, therapy, and other strategies to encourage active involvement in the lives of children to prevent child abandonment. CSBG agencies also focus on programs that assist incarcerated or recently paroled men, providing job training and employment assistance to empower them to provide financial support for their children and to reestablish healthy connections to their families. Many agencies partner with Women and Infant Children, or WIC, Child Support Services Department, CDSS, Head Start, First Five, and many other state programs to connect clients with additional resources and services. Lastly, we will look at eligible entity emergency food and nutrition services. CSBG agencies work to offset conditions of starvation and malnutrition by providing emergency food assistance and nutritional services by allocating funds to community food banks. Some CSBG agencies operate emergency food services in-house to address the food security of their clients, including coordinating summer lunch programs, supporting clients with CalFresh applications, and providing emergency food parcels and vouchers. CSBG funding, along with private and public investment resources, is used by many agencies to operate nutrition-related programs that promote the availability of nutritious foods, including outreach programs like Fresh Text, food banks, and the development and support of community gardens. CSBG agencies are required to describe emergency food and nutrition services in their CAP. The next section of the draft CSBG state plan showcases a representative sampling of program highlights that reflect significant steps made by CSBG agencies to address the diverse needs of the communities in which they serve. These highlights include the disaster response efforts after the Camp Fire in Butte County and the outpouring of coordinated support provided by Community Action Agency of Butte County. This is an ongoing effort, but in the first few months following disaster, over 700,000 pounds of food were delivered to those in need through the establishment of a weekly tailgate food giveaway for affected locals. CEO of Community Action Agency of Butte County, Tom Tenorio, has said it best here. The spirit of community action can be that needed inspiration when tragedy strikes and when it seems that no end is in sight. We'd next like to showcase the Community Action Partnership of San Luis Obispo County, and the Forty Prado Homeless Services Center. The Forty Prado Homeless Services Center opened its doors in San Luis Obispo County on September 17, 2018, to provide a cost-effective and central location for homeless families and individuals as they embark on the path towards self-sufficiency. The center offers nightly shelter for 100 clients, including up to 10 children per night, and serves 84,000 meals per year. Built to improve the lives and stability of its participants, Forty Prado aims to provide families and individuals with a means to an end. Now, on the next few slides, we'll walk through infographics that provide demographic information for participants who received services in 2018 as reported in the 2018 CSBG Annual Report. They include the number of male, female, other, and unknown participants served by CSBG agencies during the 2018 program year, as well as ages of participants served. For the 2018 program year, CSBG agencies served more than 338,000 female and 250,000 male participants, with nearly 160,000 of the participants between the ages of 24 and 44. Exhibits C and D, shown here, reflect the race and ethnicity of the participants served by CSBG agencies in the 2018 program year. It is important to note that the data reported in this slide aligns with data collection by the United States Census Bureau. Individuals are asked to provide answers to two separate questions that address ethnicity and race separately, regardless of their response to either question. They are viewed by the census as separate individual identity classifications. If ethnicity or race are unknown or uncollected, those unduplicated counts are included in the unknown category. In 2018, 41% of participants served identify as Hispanic, Latino, or Spanish in origin. Lastly, we include the family composition of participants served in the 2018 program year. Of note, more than 62,000 families, or 16%, of families served in 2018 were led by single mothers. That's all for demographic information, and that about wraps up our overview of the contents of the state plan. As required under Section 676E2 of the CSBG Act, CSD is required to hold a public and legislative hearing for the CSBG state plan. The California State Senate and Assembly Human Services Committees will host a combined public and legislative hearing on August 27, 2019 at 2 p.m. at the state capitol in Sacramento, California. Public notice of this hearing will be published for 10 days prior to the hearing using CSD's public website and social media channels to notify all interested parties. Notice will also be sent to all CSBG agencies through the CSD provider website. Although not considered a state accountability requirement, CSD released the draft state plan to the public on July 31, 2019 through its public website as discussed earlier. Written comments are accepted until 5 p.m. on August 27, 2019 and may be submitted via email to csbg.div@csd.ca.gov or mailed to the Department of Community Services and Development, Attention Community Services Division, at the address 2389 Gateway Oaks Drive, number 100, Sacramento, California, 95833. After the inclusion of transcripts from the public hearing and any corresponding comments, the 2020-2021 CSBG state plan and application must be submitted to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Administration for Children and Families, Office of Community Services, or OCS, on or before September 1st, 2019. Well, that about wraps up our time for today. Thank you for taking the time to review this webinar. We hope that we provided you with a basic overview for the 2020-2021 CSBG State Plan. If you have any questions about this webinar or any aspect of the draft CSBG state plan, please submit them to csbg.div@csd.ca.gov no later than Tuesday, August 27th, 2019 by the close of business. Please use the subject line, Questions on the 2020-2021 Draft CSBG State Plan. All questions and state responses will be included in the final draft of the state plan. Once again, thank you very much for participating in our pre-recorded webinar for the 2020-2021 Draft CSBG State Plan.